How are you? Good evening.
Good evening, Veda. How are you? I'm good. I'm really good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. So it's so good to be talking to you. We both have spoken before about our sons and their mental health and all of that before, and how to handle teenagers. So it's so good to have similar kind of conversations again with you, don't you think?
Right. I'm super excited about this one because I know, the last podcast was really amazing. I had good conversation, good insights, and I'm hoping that we can recreate that again.
Yeah, I'm so glad that when you were looking for somebody to talk to as part of the Mentors for Kids program, you thought of me. I was so moved. Tell me a little bit about Mentors for Kids and what do you do and what are you trying to achieve as part of that?
Sure. So, Mentors for Kids is a foundation led initiative. So, don't mind me if I actually refer a little bit of notes because um, I'm not the founder. Vishal sir and Pavan are actually the founders. I just joined them because it's passion. I love this is my passion. So, Mentors for Kids is a foundation led initiative focused on commerce students specifically because we really wanted to make sure because there's a lot of options for science engineering. We talk about so many opportunities. There's so many ways to make careers in those areas. So commerce students, the focus is on commerce students completely, more so from small towns like tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities. We're starting with Karnataka. We have helping them build real world skills. End of the day, in simple terms, if I tell you, is upskilling and employability for commerce students from smaller towns in
Mm.
4 points. If I can tell you that this is what we're trying to do is make sure that small town commerce graduate students are have skills that make them like they're employable, to make sure that they get employed, they have skills to build either their own business, to start their own business, or venture out in the world with real world skills basically. The other part to that is connect them to mentors also. So if you see our LMS right now is like, you are a part of that, who's training them on how to go to interviews, how to present themselves. And we have other side of it where we are kind of simplifying or demystifying a lot of skills that theory based books won't, right? So that's what we're trying to do. Sorry, it's just if it's just my take on how we're trying what we're trying to do.
No, that is absolutely right. And I absolutely got what you're trying to do with the program. City kids sometimes have a lot of exposure. In my opinion, of my own son, I feel like they have too much exposure sometimes. And giving the semi-urban, non-city students an
Right.
exposure like that, a guidance and mentorship program like that, it's really, really important because I think everybody needs that chance to show what they are capable of, and all they need is that little direction to nudge them into the right road and do great things. I come from a tech background, and I have worked with a lot of students from tier 2 Karnataka state itself, cities, and they have been absolutely amazing. They are so hardworking, so diligent. They're like sponges who are ready to absorb the knowledge that we give them. And it's our responsibility and pleasure to be able to give that sponge something
Right.
to absorb.
Yeah, that's how we pass on the knowledge, right? There's otherwise I feel we just kind of just go through life, like we just have our own experiences, we have our own, but I feel there's so much, like last time, there's so much we can share from our own experiences. There's so much we can learn from each other, which is what we're trying to do here as well. So there are a lot of CFOs who are doing podcasts with us. Maybe their journey will help students, maybe it'll spark some idea, maybe it will help you in some way, right? So just talking to mentors, talking to people who've been there, done that, maybe can help you. Even if it's just a tiny bit, I feel it helps a lot.
That is true, and I'm glad. Oh, what sort of mentorship do you do? Is it academic? Is it real world? What sort of help are you providing as part of the program?
Yeah, so we're trying to do all. Right now, we've just started. We are like fairly new in this. We started off with the idea of academic, because even if you're talking about maths or finance, ideally in real world is totally different than the theory that you learn in commerce. When I was a graduate, I'm sure when you were, when we passed out, I feel I didn't know what real world skills were required. Right, I learned everything on the job with internships, with so I think, to answer your question, we are kind of doing academic plus personality development. With, of course, Zensible's help, we will have them trained for interviews, get how to break down what's the aspect of money, what's finance, how to apply it. For example, GST skills, they're breaking it down in bite-sized info, in real world skills type. So we're kind of trying to cover academic, non-academic. We're also, end of the day, I think we already have a tie-up with team leads. We are kind of making sure they have access to starting jobs as well, so that they have some starting point from us. So we're trying to go complete a complete portal for any graduate commerce student to go out there and achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah, that's a really good objective, and one of the true test of how well they have learned and how well they have done is for them to ace their interviews whenever that happens and get into that corporate career road. With full confidence. So I'm very excited that this conversation is going to be about that, about how they ace interview skills as well. So, yeah, looking forward to this.
Right. So I have a couple of questions for you to kickstart this. So since we're talking about interviews, I wanted to understand, do you remember how your first interview was and what was going through your mind that day? Like, any thoughts?
Oh, yes, of course. I remember my first interview. You were talking about when we were in college and we didn't know a lot of things. That's exactly how I was. And believe it or not, I am from a very, very small place that nobody would have heard of in Tamil Nadu. It's called Perundurai. My husband to this day calls me, "You're the village girl." That's what he calls me because I grew up there.
Right.
I studied, my entire schooling was in that so-called village. So when for my college, I moved into a tier 2 city, which was also not so big, but people would have heard about it. It was in Coimbatore.
Right.
So it was a sleepy town. In those days when I went to college, that was like way back. I'm not going to tell you how long back because then you can deduce my age from that. But it was way back, and there wasn't a lot to do over there. It hadn't become this IT, hub or
Yeah.
growing IT hub as it is right now.
Right.
But it had good colleges, and going from this small town, small village to this small town itself was a big change for me, and I was very nervous. I am a very extroverted person, as you can see. I can talk a lot, but then when I went to college, I became very quiet because people could sense that I was not from around there, and I was very withdrawn. It was very difficult for me to adjust into college in those days. And I wasn't super academic. I wasn't getting the first rank in my college. I was by no means, in fact, I have no problem telling you I had arrears in my college. So, and my college was also a very small college. We didn't expect any company to come in. But then when the first company came and they set up their interview, I was shocked because they said that they would take only the top 20 students for interviews. That's what, yeah, yeah, yeah. They said that's what they said. And
Crazy.
well, they had to cut down the number of people that they had to interview. Top 20%. I'm not saying top 20 people. They had a mark cut off, I believe. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to be part of that. I didn't even want to go to the area where the interviews was happening. And coincidentally, on that day, there was a big conference elsewhere, and quite a lot of people had by chance left for that. And the company had come in without a lot of prior notice. And they said, you know what, we don't have enough people to go in. Why don't you also come in? I was like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do. So I had gone in with no preparation, no
Mm.
expectations of what to
Yeah,
expect.
yeah.
So they had multiple rounds. They had a written round, and they had a technical round. There was a group discussion. So it went on and on and on. And I still remember how late it was. And I was thinking, oh my God, I'm still here. I was not even supposed to be in the interview. I have done the written round. I have done the technical round. I have done the group discussion, and I'm still here.
Wow.
It was so surprising, and there were only two people who got selected from that placement interview. One was a very quiet guy from my college, and the other one was me, who was not even supposed to be in the interview. So I definitely remember my interview very well.
But like I understand you're saying this, but and I'm trying to recollect my experience of mine. It was exactly the same. I was just asked to fill some paperwork and then just go in and meet, meet a person and asked me a couple of questions. I was so nervous. I remember I was very nervous, not prepared at all. I just honestly answered like it was very naive and I think fairly new. And I was thrown into a group discussion and it was a very new environment, and I think I just said something, I walked out. It was all very, I don't think I remember how it was. Didn't know how to present myself, didn't know how to talk articulately. So I'm sure when you were talking to somebody there during your interview, you felt some really out of the world experience, like out of body experience or something like that, or some nervousness at least.
Oh God, yes, yes. Okay, forget about the talking part. Even when the written
Yeah.
text was there, I was so sure that I have made a mistake in every single question, right? So one thing my mom always tells me before exams or before interviews also is, don't discuss anything with anybody, because you will always feel like, oh my God, how did I not know this, right? And then your mind starts to churn that information. Oh God, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there. So that is how it was. It was with the written exam also very nervous, with the conversational part also very nervous. Half the time I don't even remember what I was speaking to them, what I was saying to them. And it was very nerve-wracking, yes.
I can totally get that because I remember. So I don't think now it's that big a deal. I would walk into and talk about stuff because we've done things, we have experience. But that time it was totally new for us. But having said that, I think there were a lot of mistakes that helped us kind of now remember, not repeat those mistakes. I think we learned from our mistakes more than what anybody could teach us about what to do in interviews. So what are some of the mistakes that in early interviews that I feel students who are listening to this webinar can learn from? What are the initial mistakes that we did, maybe students can learn from for interviews?
So one of the first thing is thinking that you need to be better than everybody else at everything. That is something. I'm sorry, what?
One of the key ones,
Yes,
because my personal experience, you don't try to be better than anybody else, you just be you. And I
ex
think that's the best. I'm sure, go ahead, sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, of course not. Of course not. So that's what we think, right? We always want to be the best academically, the
Yeah,
best when we are speaking. I have to be best dressed so that I impress on my first looks. And I have to be funny. I have to be engaging. I have to know every single question, answer for every single question that they ask for. That is not what interviewers typically ask for. And I learned that not while doing interviews, but well afterwards when I became an interviewer myself
right,
and was talking to others. That's when I realized, oh my God, I'm not looking for the best person in every possible way. I'm looking for a person who's willing, who has the right attitude, right? Who has the courage to own up and say, you know what, I don't know the answer to this, but I would love to learn it, right? And who it takes interviewers when they are doing interview, if you don't know the answer, they give you hints and they give
right,
you difficult problems with the hints just to see, are you able to extrapolate from there?
right.
And that is very important. If you already know everything, and if that is what they are looking for, then you go into a job and there is nothing more for you to learn, right?
Right.
So
It's
the
not exciting. That's what you're saying, right? Like there's no learning curve, there's no excitement, there's nothing keeping you motivated and engaged with that role, right? But like you actually got to the crux of this, okay? Like I thought we would be going through 10 questions to get there, but I think you stayed went to the heart of the problem. And I think I agree with you. As interviewers, as an interviewer, I realize what I'm looking for. I'm looking for somebody who is matches my energy. One, two is he knows, like he or she, whoever it is curious or wants to learn, has that one thread of learning, that I want to do something, I want to learn, I don't know this, but happy to get on a like get this on a learning curve, happy to learn about this, ask questions. But what part does, having said that, what part does language play in this? And I'll give you one short example of my own bias that was there initially when I started. Was, if a person speaks English, they know everything. Like that was my perception, okay, long back, 20 years back. But over the years, I've realized that nice Hindi speaking language is not one of the biggest things that you need to focus on during interviews. I feel the attitude, like we said, of course I reached after a long time on that subject, but I would like to know what role does language play in you, in interviews, for students to understand that even if they don't know English, even if they don't know Hindi, even if they don't know proper Kannada, but how would they present themselves during interviews?
Yeah, that is a very good question. And language is just a way to communicate what you're talking about, right?
Right,
That is what we need to focus on, not what language, but what communication, right? If I am asking a question and if the other person has not understood it and they are able to put up their hands and say, you know what, you asked the question, I did not understand. Can you repeat it in simpler terms, right? And that ability to ask for that clarity is very important.
right,
And when they respond back also, their ability to, and communication is not just the words that are spoken, it's also about the body language, how you are expressing yourself, and that can come in any language. It can come in English, Kannada,
yeah,
mix of English and Kannada and Hindi. So don't worry about mixing a few English words in between, a few Kannada words in between, a few Hindi words in between. As long as the other person is able to understand, that's all matters, and that's what we should focus on. My dad always says, samne wale ko taklif. That's what he says. So I am not worried about what I don't know. It's the worry of the person in
yeah,
front of me,
investigate.
right? So think of English as one means of communication and not the only means of communication.
Yeah,
So,
that was my bias long back. So when I ventured out, English was like that time there was this call center era that was happening, and there was English was like really important. So one of the things I struggled with initially was having polished answers, articulating myself.
mm,
I am a very simple person. I love to say it as it is, but I still think there are times when I still think I'm not able to articulate it well. How important do you think that is, like in interviews? Should I just, like, I've always been myself, like,
mhm, mhm.
but then there have been consequences as well. So students who are like fresh graduates out in the world are venturing, how important do you think polished answers are?
So, as an interviewer myself, I know when I'm going to talk to students, especially
Correct.
freshers, right? I know what sort of experience they have had and how they are able to respond back. So, a little bit of, uh, breaks in between, a little bit of missteps in between will not give you negative points at all. Even for the previous questions, for the English one, I
Right.
gave the same answer. It's
Right.
just a way of communication. That said, I'm not going to say don't work on your English,
Yeah.
don't work on your articulation skills because those are not important. They are very important, but at the same time, they are not the only important thing. You don't have to be completely polished, you don't have to have the perfect accent, perfect answer, but at the same time, with every conversation, you work on getting better. The point is not to be there at the perfection already. The point is to slowly work your way out to there. So, at the end of an interview, if you're having an interview, even a mock interview, or any regular conversation with a person of authority, right? So, you ask them, hey, how did I do? What did I do wrong? Did I
Yeah.
talk incorrectly? Did I express myself correctly? What
Yeah.
would you want me to change? What would you want me to learn? And that curiosity to make yourself better is what is important more than having the perfectly polished answer, and the willingness to adapt. So every interviewer will put a question, not to say this is the only question I'm going to ask you. That question will have a follow-up question, like how you are asking me, right? You
Right.
asked me about language, and then you asked me about the perfect answers and the articulation, right? So there is a follow-up. So what interviewers are looking for is, are you able to take the guidance I'm giving you, work from your response, and then see whether you can reach to the answer and see where I am going with this. So that guidance, look out for that. More, what I would say more important is the ability to listen and understand more than respond and answer.
That is one of the key things I feel. You've kind of touched on the second key part, is not just focusing on answer but actually listening and being able to answer it correctly and not deviate. So thinking like a student, fresh graduate, what are the two three things that I need to keep in mind to make sure that I feel confident enough before an interview? What are the two or three things that I should be doing before
So
I enter an interview?
yeah. One thing is the day before interview, prepping the day before interview is not the only thing you need to do.
Right.
You need to have, from the time of your school, college, you need to put in that hard work because you're not going to be able to cram everything in a single day.
Right.
And if you do cram it, then it will show up. You are going to be nervous about the cram that you just did, and you're going to be more worried about your recallability than about understanding and articulating and talking. So be a regular learner to improve your confidence level. the,
Right.
the more you practice, the better it will be. That is one thing. And the second thing is you do a lot of things with your friends. I was a young student once. I understand the attraction of going to movies, hanging out with your friends, playing a sport, and doing all the other things. But make sure if you do four fun things,
Yes.
also talking about interviews, doing mock interviews with each other, or studying together also as one of the fun thing that you do as well. Help
Right.
each other out so that the more you practice, the better you get at it. So that will again improve your confidence. And with respect to if you're worried about not your technical ability or your academic ability, and if you're worried about your conversational skills, your posture, your talking ability, if that is what you are more worried about, then I would say watch different videos of interviews, see
Right.
how the communication has happened, or practice in front of a mirror, talking in front of a mirror to see how it is coming to you, and that would help improve your confidence as well. So these are leading up from your practice from quite a bit away before the interview itself, before you know when an interview is going to happen. But on the day of the interview or the day before the interview, the main thing is to understand that you are going to be nervous, and that nervousness is good. It means that you care about the outcome and you're willing to work hard to reach the outcome.
Right.
But don't let that nervousness take over your ability to think clearly and respond clearly. So I come from a family which we had atheist and agnostics, which means that we did not believe in God, and we questioned whether there was a God. So everything that had to do with prayer or God, my dad would try to come up with an explanation of why that exists, right? So he used to tell me that the reason why you are asked to go and pray before an exam or before a big event or before an interview is because you are not focused on the interview. You're focused on talking to God, that quietness, whether you say a prayer out loud or whether you go to a temple and stand there in its calm and quietness. What it does is it takes your mind away, it calms you down. The prayer that you say is in a way puts your mind at ease. So
Right.
whether you believe in God or not, if you believe, then do your prayer because it's going to calm you. If you do not believe or if you doubt that, also
Just
figure out a way to mentally calm yourself down so that you are in a good place when you go and sit in front of the interviewer or interview panel.
Oh, that's good. Actually, I love that part because I trust me, that came to me a lot after a lot of interviews, but it did. So, to summarize, I think you're saying prep before, just don't leave it for the last day. The second one is to make sure that you kind of looking at the videos, you're understanding how you're going to present yourself, do mock interviews. And the third is, of course, calm yourself down either through a prayer if you're a believer. And I would love to actually push and meditate here, like just take a 3-minute meditation
Mm.
somewhere and just calm yourself down. I think these would definitely help new students. I wish we'd done this for us, long back in time. Um, so one of the things that I feel a lot of students put pressure on themselves, and I'm 100% sure we did it to ourselves, is how important it is to know everything versus being honest about what you don't know. Like you were mentioning, right? It's a person, and it came to me after really 4 5 interviews where I was really honest, because uh, I understood that there's no point in lying, and there's no point in even not answering that question. Saying, okay, and I'm very confident nowadays is where I say, okay, I don't know this, but I'm happy to learn. So, how important do you think is it to know everything versus being able to actually say what you don't know?
So, as I mentioned, as an interviewer, one of the things that I am looking for is for the ability for students to say, you know what, I don't know this.
Right,
It tells you a bunch of things to the interviewer, right?
right,
You don't realize that as a student, but it tells you a bunch of things as an interviewer. One is, I am very clear on what I know and
right.
what I don't know. I am very, open and honest in my interaction. And if I don't know, instead of trying to wiggle my way out of it, I am honest and say, yes, I don't know. Right. And when I say that, in a work environment, lot of times mistakes happen because the manager or the supervisor is giving an instruction and the employee is not courageous enough to say, I did not understand this, or
Right.
I don't know how to do this. They will just say yes. And
Yes.
this is one of the things that a lot of people find out is people will just nod and then go and do something that is not correct or do something that is completely wrong. So as an interviewer, we are actually looking for that. We are actually, that is a good trait to have, where you
Right.
raise your hand up and say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. You can try and ask for, hey, you asked this question, what is the answer? You tell me. Or where can I learn this? Okay, if you don't want the answer to be handed to you, you can say, where can I learn this? Or can I take a look at it and come back to you? How can I get in touch with you? And if I find the answer, I will come back to you. So these are absolutely acceptable. In fact, in many cases, expected responses. So don't expect to know, or don't give this aura of I know everything. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you know. Be open about it.
Right. No, I think, and in fact, even now, as a recruiter, also part time, I partly recruit for my company, so I definitely give this instructions to candidates also. Even now, like, please don't try to answer because these guys like know everything. Even if you're trying to dodge it, you don't come across as a very nice person because you're trying to dodge it. You're wasting time. So this comes across as wasting time. It's better to just say I don't know and I'll come back to you on this answer. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty out there. You save tons of time and you come across as really confident and in yourself to kind of figure that out and say that I don't know. So good point. And one of the things I also wanted to tell you, see, this is, you mentioned, right, you're from a village, and of all the people, your husband is actually telling you that you're from a smaller village and smaller town. So it's, I know it's funny there, but I'm coming from a smaller, I'm sure as a student, you, when you were faced in with students from bigger cities, um I've faced it myself. I'm due to low self-esteem. It's not because of the small town. I am born and brought up in Mumbai, but low self-esteem because you're thrown in a world which you don't know anything about. You're faced with people who have higher knowledge, access to higher knowledge than you have. What do you think smaller town students should, do in this, like, should remember? I feel more than anything as, what should they remember, um, for interviews, if they feel like I felt. So what, I did a different thing altogether. Like, I learned, I built my confidence, I had more belief in myself, but that was working on you. What do you think students should do who are fairly, new out of fairly new commerce graduates?
Um, so that is really a good question, and it kind of correlates back to how I was and how I felt, right? I came from village. I came to this bigger city for me at that point of time, and there were people from larger cities in my college, and they would especially my seniors, you know how hazing and it is there. No matter how much we say it's not there, there is some level of that is there. And they would say, "What are you wearing? What is this that you're wearing? What's your hairstyle like? What are you doing?" So it was very difficult for me to feel, and I feel like, okay, I don't know this. I can't be here. I can't fit into this, right? So that uncomfortable feeling of not being in a place that you know of and not, fitting in is going to be there no matter where you are.
Yeah, true, true.
So, if you are from a rural area, you go to the next big town, you're not going to fit in. If you are from a town, you go to a big city, you're not going to fit in. If you are, here in Bangalore, and if you come to Mumbai, you're
Right.
not going to fit in. So, it is
Understood.
easy for me to say it, but be comfortable with not being comfortable because it's going to be there lifelong, right? And nobody is going to be so self assured in
Yeah,
every single situation. Everybody is going to be insecure about something. What they do best is they do not show it outwards, right?
right,
So be used to that. And you, one of the other thing is you always think, oh, everybody is looking at me. Everybody is thinking, what is this person? Who is this person? But then if you think about it, every other person is thinking the same thing as
right,
well. You don't realize that. You feel like all attention is on you, but then you don't realize that if you're sitting in a group of people who are waiting to be interviewed, every single person is thinking the same thing, that, oh my God, everybody is looking at me, everybody is judging me. So give that perspective to yourself that whatever you are thinking is not just you. The same thought process, maybe in different verbiage, is going on in other people's mind as well. That pressure that I feel, it may not be the same pressure that the other person feels, but it's a different pressure for them. So for example, if this job is really important and you are feeling that I have to get this job, is a pressure because you need that money, and you look at the next person and you think that, oh, they don't need this job because they already have the money. But then they have a different pressure. They may have parental pressure that you
right.
have to get this job. They may have some other pressure that you don't know of. So don't imagine that this is just on you. It's the same thing in different formats in everybody else's. Just remember that.
No. I think I love I loved your answer. The one thing that stays with me is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that's been like the motto, because I've learned more from being in uncomfortable situations than I've learned being in comfortable situations. So I love the uncomfortable right now. Like, see, I'm so uncomfortable with webinars, and this year I've done two already. So this is amazing. Like, I'm already comfortable asking. Otherwise, my first webinar was like yapping faster than I was. Like, I was so nervous. So I can definitely relate back to when we were graduates and out in the world and doing interviews. Um, I think the takeaway here is to kind of be okay in your own skin, focus on your journey, and get used to uncomfortable situations. I think that's the key takeaway here on this. Um, but one of the things that even I've faced, like I know I come across as very comfortable talking to people, but I think it's learned through observation from other people, how they function, how they. So if something that I thought I didn't dress well, so I observed people and I understood it's not dressing well, it's how they carry themselves, right? So if someone freezes, in spite of all this, I feel there are sometimes I freeze myself during conversations, during. So how should they handle that situation if I freeze in an interview or if I blank out? What do you think would be the what do you think a student should do if they're facing the first interview or first couple of interviews and this happens?
It's again absolutely okay to say, you know what, I am completely drawing a blank. Just give me a minute. Let me think about it. Okay. Or if they don't want to be thinking in front of the interviewer or interview panel, because that can be too much of a pressure, they can say, you know what, I'm drawing a blank. Why don't you give me a hint so that I can get my thought process going? Okay. Or if you don't even want to say that, you can say, if you want to have a quick break, you can say, hey, let me have a glass of water, right?
Right.
So it gives you a little bit of time, and also it calms you down enough to, get your thought process going. So all of these are acceptable responses, right? Just uh, even if you don't know the answer, divert it in a way that does, that gives you a little bit of time to unfreeze. Or it's up in the end, it's absolutely okay to say, you know what, I'm completely drawing a blank. I know this, but I'm drawing a blank. Can we loop back to it? Ask me the next question, and maybe it will ease me a little bit, and let's loop back to this. So all of these are very valid responses that an interviewer would never mind you doing or telling them.
Right. This is a great takeaway, actually. And I think everybody should know this. Like all the students, irrespective of commerce or small town or big town, I feel everybody should know this because it's happened a couple of times to me also where I have also said, can I just take a break? Can I just take a walk? And just step out for a minute and come back and gather my thoughts or get a glass of water or something. So this is definitely helpful. um, One of the things even I faced early on is so there's so much pressure when you're just graduate, and then people are looking at you to get jobs quickly, like this. You're a graduate, next day you need to be getting a job. So there's already an unsaid pressure from this. So what should the students do when they feel this pressure, or when they think that this one interview or a couple of interviews are make or break, or
Mhm.
this is the end of the line, or it's just too much pressure, like you said, right? And if you go back in time, I'm sure you can understand the pressure that comes. So what would you say to students who are fresh graduates and they are going out to look for jobs, giving interviews? What would be your suggestion or idea to them to kind of handle this pressure?
Yeah. So one of the thing is, when you are in the interview or the day before the interview, okay, that is the time when you always feel like, oh my God, I have to ace this. I have to ace this, right? So that pressure is normal. Feeling that pressure is normal. Like I said, that stress is actually good sometimes, in a little bit, a little amount, because it helps you to do better. But even before you reach the stage of interview, you look at your options in your college.
Yeah,
How many interviews or how many placements have happened? How many
right.
companies have come? Okay, gather that data. It's really important. Okay, and also look at how many people have been placed and how many have not been placed through college, and how many have gone outside and gotten a job. How did they get the job, right? So then you have alternative methods of outside of placement,
Yeah,
right? And how many, in what way they have gotten those jobs. Having these statistics and data and information is really helpful, because it opens up other options. Instead of focusing on, I have to get through to this job, or
yeah,
I have to get through this interview, right? You probably start looking at what are your alternatives, right?
right,
So when you start going into this type of thought pattern, okay, if this is done, my life is done, then you start to question yourself. Why do I think like this? How do I know that First of all, how do I know I'm not going to do well in this interview? What are the factual information is out there that shows me that I'm not going to do this interview well enough? Okay, that is question number one. The second one is fine. Even if I don't do it well enough, what are my alternatives? So I
Right,
have all my alternatives lined up, right? And if I don't do well enough and I don't have alternatives, which nobody does, everybody has alternative options. But
right,
if you still think that, then the third option is right. There is only so much I can do, right? So this is my option. If I am going to take this pressure on my head, it's only going to make me do worse. So if I cannot change it, then I'm just going to go and do whatever I can, right? So let me clarify that to you. The first one is question why you are thinking that certain thing is going to happen. The
right,
second thing is if that does happen, what are my alternatives?
right.
And the third thing is whether it is going to happen or not, whether there are alternatives or not, it's only possible that I can change so much. And this is what is my realm of influence. And therefore, I am going to just do what I do best and then see what happens afterwards. So, with every negative thought, not only just about interviews, with every negative thought that comes into your mind, you follow this pattern of thinking, which will help you. If it helps you, you can even write it down. That will probably put your thoughts in a better way for you.
Basically saying structure it one, two, three steps so that it kind of sorts you out a little bit. And I always think that, see, we've not got jobs just with one interview or two interviews, right? It's always been some experience. We have to go to a couple of interviews to understand whether this is what we want, then we understood what we need, then it's just a filtering process. So I think one of the things that you said, structure it, definitely, but the other thing I feel is patience is very important. One of the key aspects that has helped me, I've given 15 interviews in 3 months where I landed the one that I loved. There were times when even I was thinking that, oh, I don't like this, like the vibe, the culture, the questions. I could understand that this is not the place I would want to be.
Mm.
So patience absolutely important, especially fresh graduates who are moving out in the world and filtering out what they need right now. So this is not make and break, and I think your structure process definitely would help a lot.
Look
What
at each interview as a learning experience, right? So at the end of every interview, whether you have done well or not, you look back and say, what did I learn from this conversation? What did I learn from this experience? And if you start looking at the learnings, you will stop focusing on the output and more on the journey of what you learned, right? More on the experience itself. So that is something that you can look at. Look at every engagement and everything that you do as what did I learn from this? What did I learn today? What am I thankful for from that experience? And that will give you a different perspective.
100%. I think being fresh graduates, this would help a lot. I feel this webinar is actually covering everything, more, like from the mental health aspect as well. Plus, it's kind of taking cues from the structure process that we're kind of trying to make them do. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, which is interesting, and I would, right now when I'm talking to you about a commerce student area, like graduate area era, for us, I'm thinking, what would your what would one piece of advice that you would give your younger self when you ventured out for interviews? What is that one advice you would give to your younger self?
Don't take everything too seriously. Take it easy, and everything happens for a reason. And you will look back 20 years from at this point and laugh at what did I do? Why did I, you
Do
know,
that.
Yeah, so just like how we say, everybody is actually thinking about being uncomfortable in every situation, right? Like that, every person goes through that. Oh, I think, why did I do this when I was younger? At every age, they will think back and say, oh my God, I was so naive. So think about that, right? You're going to look back and say, oh my God, why did I freak out for this? So that is what I would give, tell my younger self, that you will look back at this and laugh at yourself.
Strange because I'm going to give the same advice. If you would have asked me that question, I would have said the same thing because I would say just take it easy, just just roll, go with the flow, experience it, and let life take its own course. Don't put so much pressure on you, because I think we put so much pressure because there's a lot of social pressure, there's a lot of expectations, said unsaid. So I would definitely want to tell students to kind of listen to this webinar, and it will help them a lot. I also wanted to go back and say that MFK is actually a non-profit association, non-profit organization backed by BCL India, and there's amazing backing from WMG and Rain Matter Foundation. So I want you to talk about Zensible as well, because I really want the students to know why we are doing this webinar, why MFK and Zensible have come together to do this for commerce students from small towns. So couple of lines from you would be really appreciative, and we can then summarize this whole webinar.
Yeah. At Sensible, we are building tools for mental health professionals that will help them help a lot more people. That's what we are doing. And the reason why we wanted to partner with Mentors for Kids is because we believe that the potential to be great is within every single person. And it's just a matter of guiding them to get that out. And everybody is special and everybody has capability, and we just want to help nurture that no matter where you are. And this I hope that we continue to do this good work. We continue to talk about different things and different aspects of life. We'll be motivated, both Mentors for Kids, BCL, and Sensible, by feedback from students who are watching this, who ask questions and who say what worked, what helped, what did not help, and what they would like to know more, because that would drive both our interest
Right.
and also what we produce and help you with later.
You said it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to nurture students from smaller towns who, like to get structured mentorship. So I think it's a perfect alignment between Sensible and MFK. I think we're trying to do academic, real world skills, and then mental health and, you know, um, professional skills is what we're trying to do, right? Build confidence, make sure everything is, everyone has that opportunity. There's no one missed from our side. I think this is great. And I really want students to listen to this webinar and ask questions, reach out to us, put it on LMS for MFK, or just reach out to us. We are on LinkedIn. You can reach out to us, ask questions if you have. Happy to help or guide you or anything. And I'm looking forward to more webinars, Veda. Like I'm starting to get really confident about this. That we can help a lot more people if we come out of our own, shells.
Uncomfortable, being comfortable with being, yeah,
So if
uncomfortable.
us being uncomfortable actually helps a lot of other students, I'm happy to be there.
Totally, totally. See, we practiced with the webinar and it's already paying off. I hope you will see even better webinars from us down the line. So please keep us motivated. We'll give you details to get in touch with us in the description of the webinar, and also put the information in the LMS, and you can get in touch with us.
Yes, students, all the best. I hope to hear from you guys. Please keep in touch with us. Keep a lookout for all the more webinars from Veda and me, and just register on the LMS for access to this. Thanks, Veda, for doing this for us. Really appreciate this. From BCL India and from MFK, we're really thankful.
Oh, I'm happy to be here and thank you, Alka, and talk to you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.